gentlemen. I'm handing
In fact,
over.
you have started. Thank you. Thank you for bringing in the energy. It's incredible. Seriously, I don't know how you do it, but well done. Well done. House of Saviors, I greet you specially this afternoon. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you are joining us. It's another session. It's raining here. I hope that, network would cooperate with us. Please let me know anytime you can't hear me, right? Good afternoon. And today we are talking about the first 5 years of marriage. I hope you can hear me. First 5 years of marriage. Please confirm to me that you can hear me. It's raining cats and dogs here. And we have two special people to help us, two special people, two life coaches, to tell us, to give us that template of building intimacy for the first 5 years of marriage, because we always hear, all sorts of things. Okay, thank you, Bukola. Thank you. We always hear the first things about the first 5 years of marriage that, it's difficult to scale. Once you've scaled it, then there's no problem, but thank you so much, PJ. Thank you for confirming that you can hear me. All right, so we have two beautiful people today who are going to help us. We have Deji Showunmi. Yes. Welcome, Deji. I have my pen, and even me, I'm here to learn, right? I have my paper. You're welcome. Then we also have Benny Okwando. Hello, Benny. Hi. Welcome on. Hi.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, Deji.
Thank you.
So we're going to be telling people, sharing, from our experiences, and also as life coaches, how to make the first 5 years, a beautiful experience, right? Because a lot of people, we all know what's happening around the world now about marriages, but the truth of the matter is marriage is beautiful, right? And marriage can work. It is working and can work. It's a lot of work, but it does work, and it is beautiful when we put in that work. So who will I be starting with today? Let me see. Eeny, meeny. Let me start with the lady. They always say ladies first. Benny. Yeah, so ladies first, right? So Benny, tell us, what exactly is marriage? Let's start from the foundation. What is marriage? Then please, for the people who are on board, please, if you have any questions about the first 5 years of marriage, any clarity you need, please put on the chat box, so that I can include, in the questions that we're asking our coaches today. So Benny, tell us, what is marriage?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for having me again. My name is Benny Okwando. Marriage. So I always love to define marriage as the coming together, a merger, right? A merger, complete merger between two wholesome individuals. Complete merger between two wholesome individuals who have decided to come together to make their lives better together. So I say merger because it is both of you merging everything together. So it is not, it is not one person acquiring the other person. It is not person running away from her family, into a savior's house, quote and unquote, right? So it is not the man acquiring a property, and it is not the woman running to a savior's house. It is both wholesome individual. That's why it is important that before even speaking about marriage, The individual needs to be whole. You don't want to come into a relationship and become a parasite. So also the man, you don't want to get involved with a parasite who is totally depending, to suck life out of you. So he has to be a whole individual who is complete in every ramification, mentally, physically, financially. That it has to be that. So both of you doing so well on your own, both of you have discovered each other and now coming together to say, you know what, at this point, we need to achieve more together. What we not necessarily, can achieve as individual, but, like the scripture says, like two are better than one. Do you understand? So two are better than one. It doesn't. So it has to be two whole people coming together. So it's a whole lot of things. We see that, a lot of issues that we see these days, it's because these basic principles of, acquisition, being a parasite, being not being whole enough, those things will show up one way or the other in that marriage. So I go back to my definition again. It is the merger of two wholesome individuals coming together to make their lives better. That is how I define marriage most of the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Benny. Fantastic. So you say the merger of two wholesome people, the merging of two wholesome people. And I saw a comment on the chat box saying that it's not an acquisition, it's a merger, right? But now that word wholesome, that word, do we really have an ideal situation where we have wholesome people? Now, not a question to be answered now, but, I'm sure along the line, it will come up. So let's hear from the male, from Deji. Deji, how would you define marriage?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deji, and I've been married for just 16 years, not so much of a long time, but in my experience and as I've learned over time, marriage is the coming together of two entities or two nations, if you will, to come together to form or birth another nation or another entity that can be advantageous to everyone around us, because marriage is the foundation of family, and family is the foundation of the society. And it's very important that anybody who will be the guardian of family have to be in their right minds themselves. I would like to state that marriage is a perfect system. Marriage is always good. Marriage is always amazing. It is the people in marriage that might cause problems in marriage. So marriage as a system, you can understand it better when you know that every system has a way to its optimization. What to do, what not to do, how to go about it, and so what not. So marriage is a coming together of two separate entities because it's two people who have been raised in diverse backgrounds coming together to form one.
Yeah.
That is what marriage is to me.
Thank you, Deji. So it's the coming together of two different entities. So you both of you have actually, said the same thing. It's coming together of
The
two
same
people.
thing.
Yeah, to make something work, to make the marriage work. Now, the question is, why are we saying it every day that this thing looks like it's not working? Well, for majority, we hear stories, we wake up to news on social media, everywhere, that this thing called marriage, it looks like, it's not working. And so many people are saying, oh, I don't want to be involved. But that's why we are saviors. That's why this has been put together to change that narrative that it can actually work, right? So we want you to share your own experience, because we are talking about the first 5 years, the foundation, right, of marriage. How has it been for you? Deji, let me start with you. Your first 5 years. So you said that you're 6 or 7 years in marriage. Interesting, and congratulations.
No, ma, 16.
Right? How has it been?
16.
How was the
16.
first 5 years for you?
Hello, ma'am. 16, ma'am. 1-6.
Oh, 1-6.
16,
Oh, okay.
1-6.
Sorry, I thought I heard 6 or 7. Okay.
But
16.
I feel like I've been married
Fantastic.
for longer because I was with my spouse for 8 years before we got married. So it's been 24
wow.
years with that person.
Almost
Now,
30
in my
years.
own case, things might be different. I might not have these stories to tell, which is why it's always good at a gathering like this, whereby there can be different experiences. We dated for 8 years.
So share with us. So that,
very good years. Now, what I would say is, it's been a very wonderful friendship, because that is how it started out, as a friendship.
Please go on to that friendship.
Friendship, that's how it started out. And you would realize that all of us had one friend or the other who was so dear to us, such that when they angered us, we would be the ones to say, come, why did you do that? You know, I'd miss you. Okay, let's not fight, and it will be fine. Or, okay, you did this, I didn't like it, but I understand. Now, it now seemed as if friendship in itself will be the foundation of all relationships. Because friendship has this, how can I put it now? It has this ambience, this laid back vibe that you can always run back to. It is not weird that in so many marriages today, your spouse actually might not be your confidant. You might have a friendship with somebody else where things are very good with that person. So people find out that, okay, they prefer to watch movies with a particular friend, a particular trait that they might not share with their spouse. So whatever happens, a friendship is important, because it is from friendship that companionship really, really stems. And that's what has been my experience. It's not that on marriage that we didn't still have issues, because we were friends, we were dating, but we always had to return to our parents or our own respective houses. And when we came together, there would naturally be a few clash of cultures. We've known each other very well, but that's just what it is. Now, I can use an analogy. I think it was just last year that I was like, we've been buying burgers all over the place. It looks like a very simple meal. I want to make one. So I got it out, bought the patty, fried it immediately, and the patty did not look the same. And that kind of seemed to spoil the meal. It hardened and it was misshapen. Then I took the pack and it says, put in a microwave, warm for so for at this temperature, and blah. I did was just to remove it and fry it. I'm like, it's a burger. What can it be that's a fried? That is what marriage can be. You have to think about it. You have to make plans about it. You have to discuss it. The first few years, we had some few fights, which we've not gone to. And while we were dating, we never seemed to fight at all, except and that could bring discord. But apart from that, we had no misalignment whatsoever.
No major issues.
Marriage, no major issues, but on marriage, staying together, it was different. Then we found out that one was tidier than the other. And it became a thing whereby one person, maybe yours truly here, will flip a towel on the bed and claim he rushed off to work. And she'll be like, why can't you just hang that over there? Then, depending on the mood I came in, because I forget to stand by my door to put down all the day's troubles by the door, then I also fly into, why couldn't you just take it and hang it over there? Then am I your maid? And so on and so forth. And for two people who never have issues, it seems like a mild disagreement, but in our own lives, because we never have issues, kind of, it's a big
It was
one.
major. Yeah.
It was major. And after the whole thing, I stepped back and I was like, a wet towel could cause that. Then I was like, okay, I would pay more attention to that. And she seemed to just forget what was irritating her in the first place. And we just carried on. It was weird because that was like the first time it happened, and that was it. Then another issue was I'm on the big side, so if I sleep in a particular way, I snore. So I found that, okay, a few days I will see her sleeping the head on the bottom of the bed and her legs close to me. Maybe she hits me or I get up to drink water and I'm like, what is this? That she says, and I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping. How do I know that? I'm snoring and so on. Then we discussed that, then I was like, okay, fine. Maybe you sleep in the sitting room or something, or maybe I go sleep there so that you can be comfortable. That was sarcasm, not, and she quickly knew that that was sarcasm. Then I think we left it at that. We did not finish that. We just left it there. Then
it was building up. You were building a house.
It was building up. We did not continue that. We just left that alone because it was strange. And I was like, is this really necessary? And it went off. Then, okay, I am from the very laid back clan. We are easygoing, nothing phases us. And after can be happening, we can be sleeping because we feel we can find a solution, and my mind can calculate that, okay, that particular building, if it collapses, it can't go below that. I'm not going to lay that under there. But I say that just in my mind, not to her. She is a warrior. So she's going to be like, why are you just sitting down? Let's think about something to do. And I'll be like, calm down. Because I believe that where I am is the way she should be. No. She's grown up somewhere for about 27, 28 years of living her life in a particular way. And I have too, from my own end of it. Why do I want to change somebody who has built a particular system of life for about 25 years? That is unrealistic, that is unfair. Then the last one that brought the camel's back, because I can remember very clearly, we had 3 sets of fight and did not fight again. Because I took this one to the extreme. And people will be like, but you are so mad at even tempered. How did you even get to an angry place? I was one of those who got married earlier amongst my friends. So my friends would come around and boys will be boys. At times they bring their girlfriends over. And one brought their girlfriend over a particular day. And I think my wife came back before they were done in the room pleasing themselves. Naturally, she was like, what are you doing? Is it a brothel or whatever? I don't know what it was because I've been with her for a long time, but all of a sudden, what came out of my mouth is that this marriage thing. So just because I'm married, I have to change and all of that. But that's not what it was. That was our home, and I wasn't respecting it at that point in time. But I didn't say it that way. I just thought that, oh, it's me and my friends. That's the best man at our marriage, my very best friend over the years. You should know that and you should understand that. But she knew what we had stepped into, that it was a home, and it was one of our discussions before because we discussed a lot of things. The friendship part of it makes sure that we can stand aside, leaving the relationship alone, to go out as friends, discuss, then get back into it so that we can really tell each other truths and so on. I took my keys and drove out. And I went. Then, after I thought I had calmed down or satisfied myself, we came back and we talked. And that particular day, we made different pacts that we had not made before. While we were dating, I think because we By the time we were dating, we've been with 2 or 3 persons each individually. You were like, okay, this is how we do things. No anger follows us overnight. Any problem with it, we say it. This, that. We made all those kinds of rules. But marriage entails different things. We went to an Anglican church for 6 months of premarital counseling, but it still did not prepare us for a wet fowl.
Enough.
Yeah, not for us enough. Not for a wet fowl, not for the burger that I have to fry, or those kind of things. It did not. So one thing that I learned in the first 5 years of my marriage that has served me today is a negotiation. Communication is what people talk about most of the time. Communication. You have to communicate, you have to communicate, you have to communicate. But as Dr. Bofawole would say, there is communication and there is effective communication, which is talking to the other person showing a signal that they heard what you say and that they've processed it. And this is the solution they are offering. Meet me halfway. That is communication. It goes forward. It shows reception. It shows a rumination, then back to you to know that you have been heard. After that, you can find a way forward. So people talk about communication, but negotiation is where it is. First of all, we are a team. We are not adversaries. We can both win. And how to win is there is no pettiness in this life in between 2 people who are married or people who are in love. There's nothing called pettiness. Everything can be discussed because that's the way you can say, this is okay. What do you want? This is what I want. This is what I want. Okay, so let's find a way whereby you can get what you want and I can get what I want. And the solution to my snoring issue, and at times when I also said, oh, we didn't seem to be having enough sex, was that I needed to get to bed early because she would have slept and she doesn't like being disturbed if she's asleep. So I can get to bed on time and come back and do whatever I was doing. As an architect, I have to draw. It was a simple solution. The same for the snoring was that, okay, I think I have to have slept before you start sleeping. So I'll be deep in sleep and it doesn't disturb me. And if you lay on your stomach, I think it snuffles it out. So I try to be conscious of that. It was the same thing too with the other incidents too. This is a married home. Okay, yes, we don't have children yet, but assume we do. Is this what you will still do? What you can't do now, you can't do then. If you decide to be excellent, then you have to be excellent all through. It can't be only at times. So negotiation, which is we can both win, saved a lot for us at the beginning because of those 3 fights that we had, because they were on commonplace. We never used to argue over anything. And the issue with not checking the description of how to prepare a simple burger was an eye-opener. That in marriage, there are different rules for it. So we started finding resource, though we did not have a therapist then that we were seeing, but we started looking for resource and it worked out. And friendship definitely did a lot for us. I'll stop there for now and I'll let Madam talk.
Thank you so. Yeah. Thank you so very much. In fact, that was a total package. House of Saviors, I hope you guys are listening. So that was Deji's experience. He was dating for 8 years. What can happen in marriage after you've met someone for 8 years? You guys are friends. What do you think can happen? You think everything will go well, and then marriage happened, right? And then things took a turn. And, he said that from his learnings, right, effective communication, negotiation, and teamwork has done the magic. And I think I heard him clearly saying that after that last incident where his friend came over, they haven't really had a major fight. That is not just about talking, but making sure that communication is effective, and then you negotiate. Thank you so much, Deji. So, Benny, let's hear from you. How was the first 5 years for you?
Okay, the first 5 years. I think I experienced what most people experience also, the shaking. You understand? Yeah, I will always say that in marriage, before there is an alignment, there will always be a shaking together where both of you, everything that, you think you believe about this person will be shaking. And then when you guys now start, talking and negotiating, like Deji said, then you now start finding an alignment that will now, carry you through the stage where it now seems like everything is working and the people are tagging you, couples go. Do you understand? So I say this often, what knowledge that you have as a single person on relationship expires at the point where you are introduced as the one. Right? It becomes outdated at the point once
Please, can you say that again? Whatever knowledge you have as a single person
on relationship becomes outdated at the point where you are introduced as the one.
Okay.
Right? Yes, because at that point, you need a refresher course. At that point, where you know that, okay, now we are going into marriage, you now need a refresher course. You need a refresher course on relationship, on how to relate with people, because you're going to meet your husband's friend, you're going to meet your wife's friend, you are going to meet your in-laws. So the way, when you are single, when you are coming to visit, there's a lot is not expected from you, as it were, until when they say, "Oh, this is a woman."
This is the person. I agree.
At that point, you cannot come and just from the.
You can't do anyhow anymore.
You can't do anyhow anymore. You need a refresher course to say, please, can you upgrade my knowledge of? Do you understand how to relate with supposed in-laws? You need a refresher course at that point. It's okay. So when I get to the house, what is expected of me as a wife, as a young wife? What is expected of me? How do I talk? How do I appear? How do I contribute into discussion? What are the topics I can put my mouth? What are the topics I'm not expected to speak because I'm a wife? I'm sure you get what I mean now. So you need a refresher course at the point where you are, making that transition from singleness to being married. You understand? So
I want to believe that this applies to men as well.
Yes, it also affects men, because at the point where you're coming to visit and they say, oh, as a single lady, so the guy comes to visit you, you say, oh, my friend is around. Mom, please, I need about 20 minutes to attend to, to just, speak to somebody. They give you that 20 minutes. You go outside and you speak to the person. Maybe when you are seeing the person off, you come back and say, Mommy, okay, we are no longer outside. I need to see him off to the bus stop. You understand what I mean? But the moment you come and say, in my place, when you are, when you want to come and, lock the spot, you bring a bottle of wine, right? Whether shinap or anything, however it is done in your tribe, you bring a bottle to, indicate your interest. At that point in time, in fact, you can come and enter the house and sit down, and for the kind of mother that I have, she will even expect you to serve a drink, and you'll be properly entertained. And then you also, as a guy, you now know how to, comport yourself in the presence of your to-be mother-in-law, your to-be father-in-law. You know how to engage them. You start having some kind of conversation. So that's what I mean. So it affects both men and women. But
Women.
if you don't, if you don't know this and you don't do it well, that's where you get, oh, she's badly behaved. Oh, she doesn't even know how to talk. That is when all the attack will start building up. And you get people say, oh, they don't even like me. I'm not even married. They don't like me. Do you understand? See the way, they are talking to me. Do you understand? These are subtle basic principles. Subtle basic principle. So getting into marriage for me, it was good. But the first 5 years, like I said, there was a shaking. There was a shaking because one of the first things that I always, there's no how, like they just said, there's no how you think that you are prepared, that you will get, once you get into it, you will realize that I have not had enough. There's no enough knowledge that can guide you, right? I had high hopes. For me, the first thing is high expectation. So I come from a very, very whole family. My mom, my parents were there, you understand. My father, I could predict. He leaves home 7 a.m., he comes back 7 p.m. If he's going to be late, maybe 7:10, maybe 7:10. So we could predict him. On Sundays, he hardly goes out. He'll stay back and sleep all through the day. Those kind of things. So growing up, I was praying like most young girls.
To have a father like your dad, to have a husband like your dad.
A man that is predictable. Do you understand? That will tell me, this is it. This is so I can also, I love to plan, right? I love to plan. I want to know what is going on. So the first blow, the truth is, my husband, he's in a very special industry, which means that, his timing of work is not the regular one. He can be home till 3 p.m. and then he has to resume work from 3 to maybe 12 a.m. And not like he just took that job, not like he just started that, but these were the things that he even did when he was single. But, I never sat down to think about how that was going to work out. Because when we were dating, it was okay. He was busy, I was busy. So we just, we spoke mostly on the phone and then make out time once in a while to just, have date times and all that. So it was just okay. But I never thought about how this was going to work out in marriage. That was a big blow. When a man says to you, okay, I'm going out, I should be back by 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. and you are up till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. and you're still expecting, how can you not call that you will be late? What kind of man are you? How can you be this irresponsible? And he's saying to me, it is work. I'm sorry, I got carried away, And, the first time you say, okay, yes, no problem, please don't do it again. The second time. But when it happens like the third and fifth time, and you start thinking, you start doubting your decision to say, did I make the right judgment about this person? Is this person okay? You understand? So I understand that there are some people on this call today who are feeling, this is exactly my husband. He said to me, he's coming back in 1 hour and he doesn't show up in 4 hours. Do you understand? So these are the things that gave me headache. It just made the young man look like he was irresponsible. And that was me not taking time, to actually ask myself, okay, this peculiar lifestyle of work that he has, how are we going to cope with it? To sit down, to ask questions, to know, to understand, how is it going to work? How are we going to make it work? I didn't do that. So, and the high expectation that I talked about, I just kept in every way in my mind comparing him to my father. Oh, this man is no. Until I had a discussion with my mom, I was complaining, definitely, complaining because at that time they had been married for almost 45 years. And they were married 50 years before my father transited. So about 45 years in marriage. I called her one day and I was, I just wanted to know, how did you do it? Being with this man for 45, because this marriage is driving me crazy. And the woman said to me, what exactly is wrong? I said, this and this and this, about timing, about, just being responsible. So my husband is young, he just wants to do things. He's not behaving like a husband. So that's the thing. He's not behaving like a husband. And I remember that a few times too, my husband, when we're having those heated arguments, he would say to me, you don't behave like a wife.
Oh, wow.
You're not acting like a wife. You understand? So for me, I feel like he wasn't acting like a husband. And my mom said, you need to stop this. You need to stop comparing your husband to your father.
Dad.
He said your dad was also radical when he was young. He said he's a young man. And of course, that type of wisdom coming from an old woman, do you understand, gave me that peace. She literally told me stories about my father, how he also behaved. And and I think what she did was simply to take me through the thought that I am expecting, the result of the same result from a man. My father then was maybe like 76. He said, your father is like 76 years old. He has passed through the school of life. He has learned things. You understand? You cannot expect the same behavior from a young man at that age from your husband. So you need to give room for growth. You need to give room for understanding. And by the time she said that, I came back to my senses. I sat back and I knew that I had to accept this man for who he is at this level, while I am expecting that, I'm expecting growth from him. That was a major shift for me. I think that happened maybe in the second year of our marriage. And that has been that thing that totally changed everything for me. It totally changed. So for me, studying the person that you are married to, taking time, I say to people, if you are married today and you are married to a 35-year-old woman, that woman is a 35-year-old history that needs to be studied, history that needs to be unpacked, history that needs to, you need to know how this history came to be. Who are the nurturers of this history? What belief system has been passed to this history? Which environment did this history, come from? What are the culture, the accepted norms around there? So, because this all comes together to form the personality that you are married to. Do you understand? So you need to know the environment, you need to know the natural, the belief system that they have, whether consciously or unconsciously passed down to this person. You need to know the experiences that this person has had. Why is it that your young wife does not like sex? Why is it that your husband is always agitated when you want to talk about money, when you want to talk about different things? What is it? Exactly. Experience. But if you don't ask, you won't know. If you don't try to find out, to study, you will not be able to know. And then you now come to temperaments. What kind of temperament does this person have? Do you understand? So you add, because these are the things: environment, the natural, the experiences, right? And the temperament. These are 4 things that makes up a person. every individual that we come in contact with, whether in marriage or even outside marriage, colleagues
Outside
or
marriage.
if you are able to analyze this and understand this, you'll be able to deal with people more. You'll be able to relate with people from a place of understanding, from a place of understanding. So these are the things that I had to do. And by the time, like I said, I had that conversation with my mom, I knew that I had to sit back. I had to find out all these things about my husband. I did, because I had my own issues too, that the man was complaining about. I had my own issue. I'm not a perfect wife. Do you understand? So knowing that, bringing it to the table to analyze, and when I started working on it, and there's something we call mirror effects. When I started seeing him as the man that I see in the future, and I started acting like the wife of that man in the future, I discovered that my husband gradually started becoming the man that I see in the future. We're not there yet. We're not there yet, but we are way
Growing.
growing together. So it is part of the things that we have also done, aside from trying to study and understand each other and relate with each other with a lot of understanding and empathy. Some other things that the other thing that we have done, just like Deji said, we have built friendship. We have built friendship. We go to places now. People ask us, how do you do it? How are you dealing with? How are you coping with him? They ask her, how are you coping with her? Those kind of things. Do you understand? But we have built friendship wherein we can talk about anything. We can talk about our families. He can tell me about his siblings, his parents, without knowing that, not from a criticism or judgment, knowing that my feedback will be, true, subjective, to say, no, he shouldn't have done this. In fact, I'm going to call him and lambast him, because knowing well that his siblings are my siblings also. Do you understand? So
yeah,
these are the things. We are able to talk about sex freely. We are able to talk about our family freely. We're able to talk about money freely. So these are the things. There will always be a shaking. I tell young couples to say, you need to normalize having conflicts. Conflicts creates room for discussion. It creates room for communication. So what you need to do, on the other hand, rather than running away or feeling like, because you guys are always having conflict, something is wrong with us, something is wrong with our marriage, what you need to do is know that, normalize having conflicts. There will always be conflict, even for older people in marriage, 30 years. I saw someone say they've been married for 30 years. You ask them, they are having conflict. But then, what level of conflict are they having? How is it? Do you understand? You will always disagree on things. Do you understand? You will always, but the thing is, what is causing conflict? How are you managing your conflicts? Conflict opens door for communication. Conflict opens door for growth. Do you understand? So you know what I like, you know what I know what you don't like. And so we both work on it and we become better. That's growth in marriage. But if you keep running away from conflict, if you keep feeling like, conflict is a bad thing, conflict, and you keep running away, that is you missing.
You will not do well with it.
You will not do well with it. That is you missing the chance to discuss something very vital. I understand that there are a lot of, topics that are not actually comfortable, but you must get to the point where you can talk about them freely with your spouse. It's a level of communication. You must be able to talk about them, talk about those things freely, because it will help you to be able to manage yourself. So when there's a conflict, what do you do? Analyze what is the problem. What exactly are we, conflicted on? Do you understand? Find out that particular thing. You are analyzing it. Now, when you get to the main main problem. Talk about that problem without attacking each other, without attacking each other's personality. The problem is dinner is coming out late, and it has happened once or twice or thrice. So if dinner is coming out late, that is the topic of discussion. That is the topic of the conflict, right? That is a subject. Can we talk about that dinner? Can we talk about why does it come late? Can we talk about the solution to make it not happen again? So, but what you might have sometimes is dinner is always coming late. It shows that you are an irresponsible woman. That is an attack on personality.
Personality, yeah.
And we all react in one way that we all don't like when our personalities are attacked. Do you understand? So it shows you are an irresponsible woman, so you call yourself a woman and you cannot make dinner available. Hello, you have let the subject of the matter, you are attacked. And it means that because that thing has not been resolved, it means that thing, there's a potential that thing is going to happen again. Do you understand? So when you analyze it, you find a solution. What is the solution? Let's talk about it. But then you need to realize there are times that you can talk about things and there are times you can't talk about. If it's heated and you feel that both of you are not ready to talk, leave it until when both of you can talk about it. There is no point saying, oh, Coach Benny said we need to talk about the subject of the matter when you know that you are not in a good place yet and your spouse is not in a good place yet. It will only aggravate issues. So if you need to take a walk, you need to take a break, you need to take your car keys and just drive, somewhere, and then come back after like 5-10 minutes so that both of you can talk about it. It's okay. Talk about the main topic, resolve it, find a solution. Find a solution to it. I think I'm going to stop here. So those are the issues that showed up in my own first 5 years. And as soon as I was able to grasp, how to handle it, it's been a very, very fantastic, smooth ride from then. Thank
you so much. In fact, you've said a lot. House of Saviors, I hope we are listening. In fact, she's almost finished everything that we need to say. But I will just summarize, right? 3 things that she said. She spoke to a trusted confidant. When she had an issue, she studied, and in studying, she understood better and she started empathizing, right? And working together with her spouse. And then, of course, she talked about building friendship. Deji, let me ask you. Thank you so much, Benny, for that. So let me ask, people often say that the first 5 years is the most critical years. And any couple that survives the first 5 years can survive marriage. True or false? How true is this, given that there are couples that spend 35 years together and they still break up? In fact, I know a couple, they are over 50 years and that home is not together. Over 50 years. And it was after 50 years problems started, right? So how often, what's the most critical? When they say people, the first 5 years is most critical, and yet we still have people after so many years that break up. Deji.
All right. First of all, I agree and don't agree with that statement.
Okay.
I agree with the statement because the first 5 years, because that is the first few years you are coming together. You are just finding out about each other. You're just knowing each other. So it can be understandable on the logic that if you can smoothen out the teething problems of that time, then you'll be fine going forward. But I also don't agree with it because, like you just said, people are divorcing after 40 years of marriage, which means that conflicts can rise anytime in a marriage when one person doesn't feel they are being treated well. The reason why anyone would opt out of the marriage most of the time is because they are not being treated well. And that can happen throughout the course of the marriage.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to do now is I'm going to pick a few topics and talk quickly on all of them that I would say made my first 5 years very pleasant with my partner. In some cases, I can use my example. In some cases, I might not be able to, but I saw my friends. Now, starting at the beginning, there is what we can call a personal responsibility. Now, in my personal life and how I deal with people, I have four cardinals. I have acceptance, I have respect, I have understanding, and I have unconditional love. In the case of acceptance, all these things are personal to you because they will all improve your interpersonal relationships. In the case of acceptance, you have seen somebody for the first time today. They are different to you. You don't know their story. You don't know anything about them. Whatever they do, because you want to be accepted the way you are, don't you then owe it to somebody else to accept them the way they are? Be the change that you want to be. So that helps a lot. I mean, when you break the plate, you want your spouse to understand that it was an accident. But when they break it, they're careless. No.
Yes.
That cannot happen. You have to be in the space. The second one is understanding. You have to be able to understand for people. You have to be able to think for someone. I'll give an example of a spouse who both work. They both leave the house at 5:30 or 6 a.m. because they work across Lagos. And they both come back around the same time, say between 8:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. Then we're in the patriarchal society, then the husband comes in at 8:30 and the wife comes in about 15, 20 minutes later. And the first thing is, where is my food? After she comes in for 10 minutes. You have to be able to put yourself in the place of understanding that she left for work the same time you did and came back even later than you did. Since you are both human and were created by God and we're both valued from your families, what makes her an irritable slave? That doesn't make any sense. Because you came in earlier, why didn't you do anything to ease her pain as your partner than be aggressive towards her? She went to the same thing. Then there is respect. Because of my teaching, of my learnings in church, then I'm a 54-year-old Muslim today. Then I just decide that as a Muslim, the only way to God is through Jesus Christ. He's going to hell. I feel bad for him. I have known him all of 2 minutes and I have just judged his life and I've thrown it away. That is not how it works. Because even the luxury of religion has nothing to do with you personally. It has to be to do with location in where you were born. If you were born in Saudi Arabia or UAE, you will be a Muslim. If you were born in India, you'd probably be a Hindu. And if you were born in China or some other place, probably your deity will be a cow. You know, it's so many things. So we have to put ourselves in the place of, we don't understand what their story and their struggle is, and we owe it at least to hear them out. Respect. Then it is tied all together by unconditional love. Unconditional love, you might say, unconditional, that's not possible. That can only be divine. But it is possible because you still have to try. You want your spouse to accept you the way you are. You have no fault. Everything is just perfect with you. How is that possible? It is not. So if you want something, then you have to model it. You have to show your spouse unconditional love first. They can accept it, admire it, then give it back to you. And others can even learn from you. So that is from a personal point of view. So marriage, apart from you and your spouse, those ones are basic. Those are for you. Acceptance, respect, understanding, and unconditional love. Find your way around it. That is for you personally. Now, next, I go into the separation between when you're dating and when you are married. A lot of people believe in the church, especially a lot of men. It's interesting when we were dating, we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. Now, what normally happens is that you were very nice to her, or you were very nice to him. You smiled all the time. You wanted to be with them all the time. You opened doors for them. You did so many things while you were supposedly wooing them. What
Yeah.
happens is that they get used to it and they kind of expect it. You were trying to impress them, but they took that to be who you were. You shouldn't have tried to impress anybody in the first place so that they can
Just be
change. So I would
yourself.
say, yes, at the end of the day, you are like a fraud because they liked you for those things you were doing. You were not yourself. Then you wanted to type. Then they thought you changed. You did not change. You just wanted to type. So I'll say, please, as much as possible, let's, if we were doing anything before that they liked, because we love them, let's go back to doing that. Because that's what gets their juices going as it concerns us. And we, if possible, let's try not to impress. Let's always be ourselves. It is very, very important. So you can always go back to that. Now, one other thing that you have to do that is personal is you have to really respect your spouse. You have to put them on a higher pedestal. And I have my reasons. In my house, for about 3 or 4 days, my wife were out of sync. And it was easy to know because we are always in sync. So we were out of sync for 3 or 4 days. And how did we know? By our conversation, it was limited. So I'll be using my phone the time whereby she's probably open and expecting me to join her, watch a movie, or just. Now, when I'm done with what I'm doing, I look over to her and it seems that she's using the phone. Then after 2 days of that, we then accuse each other. You are always on your phone. You two, you are
The
always
phone.
on your phone. Then, because you don't want to be petty, you don't say anything. Then, if you don't take time, you might find that in a week, or you might say to yourself, might be, good morning, how did you wake up? How are you doing? And a few other things. The phone, the way it is designed, because it carries important notifications along with social media, takes our time. And we found a way around it in my home. When my spouse comes to speak with me, I pause whatever I'm doing, I turn and I face her. Eye contact. Every single time she has to talk to me. I didn't used to do that. Hello? I didn't used to do that, but I found that it was really important for her to see that she's been received. And she modeled it back. And it was interesting for me as well. That's how we got over our phone problem. Anytime we speak to each other, we put the phone down or we close the laptop or we pause the TV. It shows I
And give
want to
attention.
hear what you watch. You give attention. It is very, 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 very important. Then getting into a marriage, you have to also know that that person that has been one way for 25 years that you accepted to marry, it is your fault that you accepted to marry them. You knew what they were, and if you didn't know that you didn't do your job well, you see what you now consider red flags. So you cannot change them. It's like the case of the butterfly. A butterfly flutters around, and that's why we love the butterfly. And that is the nature of the butterfly, to fly around and look beautiful. Then you take the butterfly, you trap it, then you put it in a bottle, then it dies in 2 days, and you wonder. Because that was not its nature, you put it in a prison. The way you met your wife or your husband is important because that's what you met them in their elements, in what they like to do, in their freedom. And don't forget that God gives us freedom. Please, whatever they used to do, their hobbies, they like to talk, they like to go out and listen to music, they had interests, they had games, let them still do it with boundaries, of course. Because if you take it and change that, you are going to kill them. You're going to put them in the prison and they will resent you for that. Force is always followed by resistance. They won't like you for it. So you can't tell your wife that you used to party from Friday to Sunday, then you marry and say, oh, you're not a married woman, you can't go because you have to trust her. But you have to let her still be herself so that you can also have a space to be yourself. It is very, very important. So what you can do is that while you can't change them, you can help them evolve because you will evolve yourself. Then we should not forget the great attributes of our spouses. I saw previous put up a post. I learned focus. I learned high work rate from my wife. And she learned how to relax and calm down from me, how to have fun. Couples mentoring works to the bit. Don't let other people praise your spouse about particular things and you have not tapped into it.
Yeah.
Please, you have to. It's very, very important. It's iron rubbing against iron. It's smoothing out the edges and you are both very good. Now, one other thing that's important in moving into marriage phase is the parents-in-law. Unfortunately, my parents were dead before I got married and she lost her mom. But I observed my friends around us and I had a few stuck-up friends who didn't want to let go for particular reasons. Please, let's get it very, very clear. Your father is most important to your mother, and your mother is most important to your father. Now, as a husband, when your mother is more important than your wife, it's a problem. You create an overload, which is one woman, your wife, is suffering for the attention you give to your mother, and your father is being deprived of the attention of his wife. Your mother might have her reasons for doing that, but it's kind of unfair if one person has to be the most loved and most cherished by two different men, both her husband and her son. And I'm sure your mother did not like it when our own mother-in-law too used to interfere in their home. It should not be a question. The mother or the wife should never be a question. The father or the husband should never be a question because you come together to form your own nation. You come from them. Your mother can use all the black men in the world. If it's not me that breastfed you, it is fine. You have formed one and you've coupled blood with another person to form your own family, which is now more important than the nation that you came from. Please, let us note this. This must not be an error. Anything you decide for your in-laws, your mother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your parents-in-laws, you must be after an agreement between the husband and the wife. Please hold this very close. Now, let's go to personal relationships about what people don't like about their spouses. It is not bad to list what you don't like about the spouses. And there's a triangle of life that can say, okay, this is where your spouse is. This is the thing that you don't like. This is where you want them to be. And this is how to get there. But you have to have two triangles of life. One for your spouse to correct what they don't like, and what you will help them to do to correct what you don't like. You have to go through that journey with them. You can't leave it for them alone. Let's take, for instance, now, I'm on the big side, I'm obese. So if my spouse wants to help me now, it's not enough to say, Deji, do what you're going to do. Then she will also have to do the same triangle and probably join me in particular strokes, join me in controlling my diet, and join me in my routine. That shows support, and they won't get tired. It won't be as if you are talking at them. It is very, very important. Now, another phase of when you cross over into the element of marriage is a support system. Now, in my own case, we decided before marriage that we will have 2 to 3 years for ourselves to see how work would be before we start to have children, because we already decided that we're going to have time for our children. One spouse who's decided in ourselves, you don't have to do that. How to work for themselves so that we can have flexible time to pick up the children whatever time. Now, that is the beginning of the support system. Eventually, we both become entrepreneurs and have time. But the thing is that a support system is a system that enables both couples to achieve what they want to achieve in life. First of all, you have to list out what you want and how to do it. A support system is when a husband, patriarchal, says, my house has to be clean, my house has to be tidy. We both have the same work. It is your job as a woman, blah, 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 blah. That's a story for another day because both men and women should know how to clean and tidy. Gentlemen, you know that there was a time in your life that you were single. How were you managing? If your mother did not teach you, please don't make that mistake with your children. But I digress. Let's go back to the matter at hand. Now, all that requires is a negotiation. Okay, you want the house to be tidy, you want food to be ready, you want this to be done. Can we outsource it? Don't focus on me doing it. At least what is important is that food is ready at all times and the house is clean at all times. You can have somebody come in to come and do them and go away because you don't want a third party keeping over in your house. That's what they call a support system. A crèche is a support system. If your grandparent joining, it's a support system. But both of you must achieve your dreams, because if you have a system or a marriage whereby only one person achieve their goals and another person have to hang back, they will resent you for life because they have sacrificed theirs for yours. And that's normally what happens when a 67-year-old woman divorces her husband. That's what normally happens. Also, from a pastor standpoint, don't sweat the small stuff. You know, I'll give two scenarios. In a house, in the evening, a husband and wife were walking by and they brushed into each other. Because of what had happened earlier in the day, the wife says, "Are you blind?" And the husband, because of what happened, says, "Are you crazy? Who are you talking to?" And they go into it and they fight. And that innocuous thing now became something major. There is another way to it. You have to pause. You can bump into each other, and the husband can smack the wife in the bum, and they can laugh all the way into the bedroom after a kiss shared on that standpoint. It was the same reaction, but when you get to your door, please leave the outside world outside your house. Don't bring it in. We make that mistake a lot. It's the same thing with spilled milk. The milk has poured on the floor. The china has broken. Shout from today to tomorrow, harass your wife, oppress her, call her useless. One of you still has to pack the broken china and wipe the milk from the floor because your child might be hurt. Or you can say, "Oh, that is sad. I'm sorry. Make sure you get the child to safety. Let's pack this up. I'll pick up the pieces. You can just mop the floor. I will check on our daughter that she's fine." And easy. It is sorted. In the case of conflict, there will always be conflict, but I call them misalignments because conflict sounds a little bit strong. But there will always be words of misunderstanding coming from what our angles are, what our beliefs are, where we've come from, or how we are even just feeling. Feelings at times can cause conflict. We go to bed, now that's why they say love does not carry a marriage. Friendship and so many other things on hard work does. Now, one thing that I've learned about conflict is that you have to always engage with the other person's perspective in mind, or it will not end. There's 7 billion people on Earth. Your perspective is just 1 out of 7 billion. That's how insignificant each individual is. If you can understand that, then you can know that there are so many ways to do so many things, and people have been doing so over the years. If there's an explosion, for example, some people witness it. One was on the top floor of the skyscraper, the other one was on the ground, the other one was in the market, the other one was in the explosion. And you ask them what to give their accounts. They will give different accounts, and they will all be right because they witnessed it from different angles and perspectives. So why, when you are arguing or when you are discussing, why is your spouse wrong? You don't even know what the angle fully is. Why not try and think from the angle? Is that looking at the letter 6 from up and from down. From down, it looks like 6. From up, it looks like 9. Until you move over to the other end to see that, oh, this is what you can see. There's no need for flight or fight. There's conflict resolution, and it's just by pursuing the other one's perspective. Now, there is another problem that is here that people run to. Yes, marital counseling will sort out most of your issues for sure. But what you have to know is that the master source, the master person on your spouse is your spouse. No matter what you have learned in marital counseling, you have to learn your spouse as well. And the master source is your spouse themselves. Ask them, but be polite and be respectful. And when they hurt you, don't say you are very stupid. You know, I always put a laptop there. Why did you remove it from there? No. Say, oh, I put my laptop there so that when I'm working at night, there is no glare. So sitting down there makes me be able to sit down on this chair without glare, and lets me be able to keep an eye on the bed to make sure that you are fine when asleep. Now, one is yelling at the spouse. The other one is an education. Anybody you educate will not feel bad about what happened, and they can open up to you and easily apologize to you because you did not scold them. You talk to them so that they can understand why you don't want this or that to be there. You have to explain it. Don't touch that fire is not enough. If you touch that fire, if you burn your hand, you always have to put an education there. It is very, very, very important. And okay, let me see what else have I not had. But that is it. Learn
I
your
think you
spouse.
have
I think I've touched a few
over-exhausted.
things.
Yeah.
Please, I have to go on
Thank
because of
you.
time. But please, learn your spouse. That's the most important
Thank
thing.
you so much.
That's
Right.
fine.
So as we close, right, I think Benny will close for us. Right. So we've talked about so many things, and Deji has just told us that the first 5 years, once you've scaled it, does not mean that, forever they are going to be together, because some certain things may stop. So you may stop impressing, and then sweating the small stuff, and so many other things that he has mentioned, not being understanding. So let me ask Benny, what should newly married couples pay attention to in the first 5 years? What framework and structure would you recommend for newlyweds, right? So that they can build an effective family life, right? So what should they pay attention to, and what kind of framework and structure, and I think in answering that, we'll just close, this session, because for me, my daughter is full, with all the nuggets that I'm taking away, though I'm 11 years in marriage, but like you said, we always learn. There's always something to learn. But for the newlyweds, right, what framework, or structure would you recommend for them, and what should they be paying attention to in this first 5 years?
Okay, thank you so much for asking that question. First of all, I'll say pay attention to, I'll go back to what I said before. Pay attention to each other, right? It is both of you in this relationship, no one else. Both of you. So go back to your user manual, Go back to your user manual. Who is your partner? Yeah. How have they been designed? What do they like? You understand? Study to know that person, study to know their history, right? And deal with them accordingly. Try to push aside all the disempowering generalized knowledge that you have picked up, whether from friends, from other people.
All women are this, all men are this.
I'm telling you, those things are destroying relationship. They are destroying marriage. So that's why, you come into a marriage and you say you are not acting like a man. Who defined what a man should be acting like? Do you understand? Who defined what a woman should be? How are they supposed to act, right? So this is one individual that you have married. Analyze this person, get to know this person, get to know what this person stands for, who this person is, and deal with this person accordingly. Leave other people, leave other people. So, because my relationship with my husband, even though I'm a female, he's a man, does not mean that it's going to be exactly like Remy and Johnson's relationship, because Remy is a female. Do you understand? These are 4 different personalities. So it means that Remy needs to study who Joseph is. Do you understand? And then Joseph needs to study who Remy is. Don't say because this is how Benny is handling Sammy. That is the same way you are going to. No, you are
Handle,
going
yeah.
to. That means that you are using my own templates to run your own marriage, and you keep getting error. You keep getting error, right? So that's the thing. Now, your first 5 years is your foundational year in marriage. And just like when you have a child, when you have a new child, or you just get into parenthood, you know what? It's going to be challenging because you have never done it before. You've never been, you've never been pregnant before. You've never had a child before. So it's going to come with, all the perks of, late nights, waking up in the midnight. You're going to start changing diapers. You're going to start, doing all sorts, and then your expense too will increase. So that is expected as a new parent, right? Even in business, when we start a new business, we say, oh, it's the teaching period. It's the teaching period. So that's why I'm saying that the same 5 years is the teaching period.
The teaching period.
It's the teaching period. So that's why I said you should normalize, accept it that you guys are going to have conflicts in different places because you are not, your belief system, everything are not aligning because you come from different homes. So study each other, accept each other, and then work on each other as you grow. Focus on building friendship. Don't be too quick to jump into the role of being a wife. Don't be too quick to jump into the role of being a husband. Take your time, right? I remember then when we were quite young, in this married thing, I remember it was just two of us, for crying out loud. So sometimes we can decide we're not cooking. My husband will say, oh, don't worry, I just coming back from work. Oh, don't worry. So I'll just buy suya. We'll drink Gary. Because those are the things that we would do when we were, when we were married.
Yeah,
but someone else will say, you are married now, you're still giving me suya and Gary. How can you be so irresponsible? As a woman, you should be cooking now. I just use that as an example. There are other ways that we want to quickly jump into that role of being a wife, quickly jump into that role of being a husband. Take your time, build your friendship, focus on building friendship. The third thing I would say is always have something that you're working together on. Always have something you're working together on. It will help you both to wake up with purpose. It will help you both to go out with purpose. It will help you both to have something to talk about. Is it a family project? A family project could be that, oh, you are planning to buy a land somewhere, you want to start building almost immediately. Are you starting a family business? Are you taking a course? Both of you are taking a course or something. Unified your vision and create a goal that both of you are always working on. That helps some way to reduce, to help you to quickly find solution to your issues when conflicts arise, because you know that there are bigger things for you to discuss. So now you know that because you need to give a report or you need to talk about that project that you have, this malice that you people, or something that happened, you can't keep malice for 1 week. It has to end because we have something more important to talk about. So somehow, you discover that because of that bigger project, that bigger thing you're focusing on, you are able to resolve this. You will know that this is a small issue, right? So you are able to resolve it quickly. The other thing I'll also share is don't put divorce on the table. As young couples, when you're coming into marriage, don't put divorce on the table, because once you put it on the table, it means that you're looking at it. So if this thing is not good, I have an option. Do you understand? If he talks to me anyhow, I have an option. If he does like this, I have an option. You will always be looking at it. But when you take it out of the equation, especially when there is no threat to life, when there is no abuse, when all the things that you can't take are not in view, take divorce away so that you can concentrate and find solution to to your marriage, to your issue.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, build structure, build structure. I think Deji has touched a bit on it. If you know that both of you are busy, of course you have a unified. I believe that you have a unified family vision, right? And you are working on something. You are working on a goal together. At this point, what you want to do is create structure. The way we handle a business that is one-off is different from the way we handle a business that we want to outlast us, or you want a business that you want to last for 20, 30 years, right? You know that you need to build structure. You need to get hands, employ people, create your vision, create your mission, create your core values and all that will be guiding you. You need to put all this thought also in your marriage. And these are the things that you should be doing in the first 5 years, trying to set a solid foundation. So I'm going to stop there, right? Build structure, find things that work for you. You are thinking of the marriage in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, who are we going to be?
And forever.
Who are we going to be, John? And forever. So who are we going to be? What do we need to put in place? What skill do I need to acquire? What's the kind of children that we need to bring into those world? And then you start putting structure bit by bit into place until you get there. Growth is the goal.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much. There's so much we have learned. There's so much we're taking away. I would love to appreciate you, Benny and Deji. You guys have really, really dealt with this issue, and I'm sure that so many people have learned a lot. We really do appreciate you, and we hope that, when we need you again, you would definitely come. So, Inji Deka, are you there?
I am there. I am here.
So what have you written down? I'm sure your books are full and everything. They have really, really done justice, right? Do you agree?
Of course. And I must thank our audience for being patient to just listen and do all the extra time that we had to do, because this is a very important topic. Lots of marriages have been broken because they are not aware of this